Check this out, BCM Rider here, bringing you another Commander deck tech, and today we have the Archimandrite. We're in the Jeskai colors, so naturally we're going to do a Jeskai Prowess build. We're going to utilize the Prowess mechanic, so anytime we cast a non-creature spell, our creatures will get +1/+1, and will get really large, really fast for the amount of spells we're going to cast. So we're going to do a whole bunch of spell slingery type build, create lots of tokens, draw lots of cards, gain lots of life, and do all sorts of fun broken things. With the Archimandrite, every single upkeep, we're going to gain X life, where X is the number of cards in our hand, -4. So the more cards we draw, the more life we're going to gain, the bigger our creatures are going to be, and then anytime we gain life, for each Advisor, Artificer, and Monk, we'll gain Vigilance and +X+0, where X is the amount of life we gain that turn. And if we need to draw more cards, we can tap 3 untapped Advisors, Artificers, or Monks. Predominantly, all of our creatures are Monks, because Monks are the creature type that have the Prowess mechanic. So our primary focus will be on that creature type. So let's get right into this. First up are all the creatures. Of course, we have Serra Ascendant, which is probably the best 1-drop monk that we can play. It is a 1/1 with lifelink, but if we have 30 or more life, it'll get +5/+5 in flying. Because our life total in Commander is 40, it automatically meets this requirement. So for a 1-drop, we get a 6/6 with flying and lifelink. Now we have the iconic Monastery Swiftspear. This is a 1-drop 1/2 with haste and prowess. It'll get +1 for each non-creature spell we cast. Now we have Elusive Spellfist. Anytime we cast a non-creature spell, it'll get +1/+0 and can't be blocked. This is kind of like pseudo prowess. Now we have the iconic Monastery Mentor. We're going to cast a lot of spells, and every time we cast a non-creature spell, not only will this get +1/+1, we're going to create a 1/1 white monk token with prowess. We're going to create a monk army. Now we have Rock's Faithmender. Anytime we gain life, we gain twice that life instead. All these creatures with the prowess mechanic is going to synergize really well with the Archimandrite just by gaining life. Now we have Flamehold Grappler. This is a 3/3 with first strike. When it enters the battlefield, we get to copy our next spell, and we get to choose new targets for that copy. Now we have Student of Ojutai. Anytime we cast a non-creature spell, we get to gain 2 life. So not only are we making our creatures bigger, we're going to gain life with this guy, which will trigger the Archimandrite, making our entire board even bigger. Now, because we are kind of a tribal theme, we have Roaming Throne. This is a 4/4 artifact creature with Ward 2, so our opponents have to pay 2 to target this, but when it enters, we choose a creature type. It'll probably be Monk, and Roaming Throne will be the chosen type, but more importantly, anytime a triggered ability of another creature of the chosen type triggers, it'll trigger a additional time. Now we have Pinnacle Monk. This is what's called a MDFC, so we can cast it as Pinnacle Monk or play it as a red source. But when it enters the battlefield, if you chose to play Pinnacle Monk, we get to return any instant or sorcery from our graveyard back to our hand. Now we have all the legendary monks. So we have Elsha Threefold Master. This is a 1/1 with trample and prowess, so it'll get +1 for each non-creature spell we cast. But anytime she deals combat damage, we get to create that many 1/1 monk tokens with prowess. Now we have Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest. This is a 3/2 with prowess, and anytime we cast a non-creature spell, we can pay hybrid red or white mana, and then target creature will gain double strike. We're going to do a very good job at casting multiple non-creature spells. If our commander is on the battlefield, we can make our commander very large and take out our opponents just with commander damage. Now we have Runetail Kitsune Ascendant. Similar to Serra Ascendant, if we have 30 or more life, we get to flip this, and it'll flip into a enchantment. We get to prevent all damage that would be dealt to all our creatures. So we're going to create a very large board state, and our opponents are going to have a hard time dealing damage to them. Now we have Loran of the Third Path. I absolutely love this. This is the only Artificer in the entire build. It's a 2-1 with Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, we get to destroy target artifact or enchantment. And her activated ability, you and target opponent each draw a card. Now we have Narset Enlightened Exile. She has the static effect that she's going to give every single creature we control prowess. That way, we can continually make all our creatures bigger. I can't stress this enough. But anytime she attacks, we get to exile target non-creature, non-land card with mana value less than her power from her graveyard, and when we get to copy it. And then we can cast that copy without paying its mana cost. Now we have Taigum Ojutai Master. Instant sorcery and dragon spells cannot be countered by spells or abilities, so everything that we're going to cast is pretty much uncounterable, which is going to be very good. And anytime we cast an instant or sorcery from our hand, if Taigum Ojutai Master attack that turn, that spell will gain rebound. So on the next turn, at the beginning of that turn's upkeep, you can cast that exiled card without paying its mana cost. Now we have Lice Hexed. She's a 2-2 with prowess, but she's going to be a cost reduction for all our non-creature spells by 1 colorless. And as long as we cast 2 or more non-creature spells that turn, she's going to have double strike. Now we have Ojutai Exemplars. So anytime we cast a non-creature spell, we can choose to tap down a creature. Ojutai Exemplars gains first strike and lifelink, or we can blink out Ojutai Exemplars in case we need to protect it. Now we have Narset Enlightened Master. This one is an absolute house. She's a 3-2 with first strike and hexproof, and anytime she attacks, we get to exile the top 4 cards. We can cast a non-creature spell that was exiled without paying its mana cost. Now we have 4 planeswalkers that are really going to synergize really well and help us out. So, first up, we have Narset Parter of Veils. Her static effect will prevent our opponents from drawing additional cards each turn. She'll enter with 5 loyalty counters on her, and then when you -2 her, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your library, reveal any non-creature, non-land card, and put that card into your hand. So she's going to do a really good job at getting to these spells that we need to cast. Now we have Narset of the Ancient Way. She's going to enter with 4 loyalty counters on her. When you +1 her, you're going to gain 2 life, which is already very good. And she'll add either a blue mana, a red mana, or a white mana. But we can only use this mana to cast non-creature spells. That's not going to be a big deal. Or -2, we get to draw a card, then discard a card. And if we discarded a non-land card, we get to deal damage to target creature or planeswalker, where that damage is equal to the discarded card's mana cost. And then -6, we get an emblem where anytime we cast a non-creature spell, we get to deal 2 damage to any target. Now we have Ajani Strength of the Pride. He's going to enter with 5 loyalty counters on him. When he +1 him, we're going to gain life equal to the number of creatures and planeswalkers we control. And that's going to trigger the Archimandrite, making all of our creatures even bigger. Or -2, we're going to make a 2-2 cat soldier with anytime we gain life, we put a +1 counter on that creature. We're not going to do this that often unless we really need to. Or for 0, if we have 15 life more than our starting life total, we get to exile Ajani Strength of the Pride and each artifact and creature your opponents control. Now we have Jaya, Fiery Negotiator. She'll enter with 4 loyalty counters on her. We get to +1 her and create a 1/1 red monk token with prowess. So just by plussing her, we're going to make an even bigger board state. Or -1, we get to exile the top 2 cards of our library. We choose one of them. We can play one of those cards that turn. And then -2, we get to choose target creature a opponent controls, and whenever we attack that turn, Jaya will deal damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. So if your opponents have a very large creature, we can kill that creature pretty easily. And then -8, we get an emblem for anytime we cast a red instant or sorcery, we get to copy that spell twice. We only have 2 sorceries in the entire deck. First up, we have Windfall. This is going to do a very good job at putting cards into our hand very quickly. Also, If we have Narset Parter Veils, our opponents are only going to draw one card, while we're going to be drawing the most amount of cards. And of course, we have Jessica's Will. If we control our commander, we can choose both of these modes. We can add 1 red mana for each card that's in target opponent's hand, or exile the top 3 cards of our library, and we can play them that turn. Okay, let's get into the instance. Most of these are going to be counter spells, protecting our board, or just gaining life in general. So, of course, we have Counterspell, Arcane Denial, and Absorb. Arcane Denial is going to do a good job at putting cards in our hand, and Absorb is going to do a good job at gaining us life, which will trigger with the Archimandrite. Now we got some removal, so we have Swords to Plowshares. Now we got a fun one. We have Deflecting Palm. The next time a source would deal damage to you, you prevent that damage, and that damage is dealt back to that spell's controller. Now we have Stroke of Midnight. We get to destroy any non-land permanent, and its controller makes a 1/1 human. Of course, we have Chaos Warp. The owner of target permanent will shuffle it into their library and then reveal the top card. If it's a permanent, it goes on the battlefield. We can use this in both ways. We can get rid of a permanent that our opponent controls that we can't deal with, or we can kind of gamble and target one of our permanents. You could even target one of the tokens and shuffle that back in to try to hit something a little bit better. Now we got a fun one. We have Capsize. This does cost 6 mana total. So for 3 blue, you can return target permanent back to its owner's hand, but it has buyback. So any kind of cost reduction, we can reduce the buyback cost to put Capsize back into our hand. That way we can keep casting it over and over. Of course, we have Cyclonic Rift. We're going to return target non-land permanent we don't control, and then if we pay its overload cost, we get to return each non-land permanent we don't control. Now we have Boros Charm. Boros Charm is very good. It's a very good modal spell. We can deal 4 damage to any target player, or we can protect all of our permanents because they'll gain indestructible that turn, or we can give target creature double strike. So if we get the Archimandrite big enough, we can one-shot our opponent. Now we got some protection spells, so we have Flawless Maneuver. For 3 mana, creatures we control gain indestructible, or if we control our commander, we can cast this without paying its mana cost. Of course, we have Teferi's Protection. Until your next turn, your life total cannot change, and you have protection from everything, and all your permanents will phase out. Now we have New Wave Forward. The next time a source would deal damage to you, you get to prevent that damage, and if damage was prevented that way, it'll deal that much damage to that source's controller, and then you draw that many cards. This is kind of like an amped up version of Deflecting Bomb. Now we have some spells that are going to gain us a lot of life. So we have Union of the Third Path. We get to draw a card, and then we gain life equal to the number of cards that are in our hand. Of course, we have Congregate. Target player will gain 2 life for each creature that's on the battlefield. This is going to be a very good way to gain as much life as possible in one shot. That way we can win the game very quickly. Similar to that, we have War Report. We get to gain life equal to the number of creatures on the battlefield, plus artifacts. Now we have Rally the Monastery. This is a really good modal spell, but it'll cost 2 less if we cast another spell that turn. We can either create 2 monk tokens with prowess, or up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2, or if we need to destroy a creature that has power 4 or greater. And my personal favorite, Beacon of Immortality. We get to double target player's life total, and Beacon of Immortality will shuffle back in. Okay, let's get into the artifacts. Most of these are cost reducers and mana rocks, but there's some fun ones in here. So, of course, we have Soul Ring, our Arcane Signet, Talisman of Conviction, Talisman of Creativity, Talisman of Progress. Now we have a fun one. We have Ivory Tower. This is very similar to what the Archimandrite's first ability is based off of. During our upkeep, we get to gain 1 life for each card that's in our hand that's above 4. Now, we need to protect our graveyard and continually cast all these non-creature spells. So we have a Elixir of Immortality. We're going to pay 2, gain 5 life, and then shuffle our entire graveyard and Elixir back into our library. Now we have some cost reducers. So we have Pearl Medallion for our white spells, Ruby Medallion for our red spells, Sapphire Medallion for our blue spells. These are all going to reduce these colored spells by 1 colorless. Now we have Helm of Awakening. This is going to reduce the cost of every spell. This does include your opponent's spells as well, so be kind of aware of that. Now we got a fun one. We have Corey Steelcutter. This is a equipment where the equipped creature will get +1/+1, trample, and haste. This is going to be really good to throw on the Archimandrite, just to deal even more damage. But more importantly, this card has Flurry. So anytime we cast our second spell each turn, we get to create a 1/1 white monk token with Prowess. And then we can attach Corey Steelcutter to that token. Now we have the Wind Crystal. All our white spells will cost 1 less to cast. Static effect, anytime we gain life, we gain twice that much instead. Or we can activate it for 4 colorless and 2 white. When we do, all our creatures will gain flying and lifelink. Now we have Well of Lost Dreams. Anytime we gain life, we can pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained, and we can draw X cards. So we're going to synergize by gaining life and drawing cards at the same time. Now we have Alhammarret's Archive. This has the static effect of both effects of what we're doing in this build, where anytime we gain life, we gain twice that much instead. And if we would draw any additional cards, we draw 2 instead. Now we have Venser's Journal. We have no maximum hand size, which is very important because we want to keep all these cards we're drawing in our hand. And then every single upkeep, we're going to gain 1 life for each card that's in our hand. Okay, let's get into the enchantments. All these enchantments are either going to help us draw cards or synergize with everything else we're doing. So, first up, we have Cleric class. If we would gain life, we gain that much life +1. And then if we pay 3 colorless and a white, we go to level 2. Anytime we gain life, we get to put a +1 counter on target creature we control. Each time you go to a different level, you get to retain the other previous levels. So if we go to level 2, we're going to have the effect of level 1 and level 2. When it becomes level 3, we get to return target creature from our graveyard back to the battlefield, and we gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Now we have the iconic Jeskai Ascendancy. Anytime we cast a non-creature spell, all our creatures will get +1/+1, and we untap those creatures. And then anytime we cast a non-creature spell, we can choose to draw a card, and if we did, we discard a card. I know this is kind of a combo card, but this is here just for strictly value. Now we have Path of Bravery. As long as our life total is greater or equal to our starting life total, all our creatures will get +1/+1 no matter what. And then anytime 1 or more creatures we control attack, we get to gain life equal to the total number of attacking creatures. Now we got a fun one. We have Words of Worship. We can pay 1 colorless. The next time we would draw a card, we gain 5 life instead. So this is going to give us the option of either drawing cards or just gaining as much life as possible, depending on that current board state. Now we have Aligned Heart. This has Flurry as well, so anytime we cast our second spell each turn, we get to put a rally counter on this enchantment, and then we create monk tokens with prowess equal to the total number of rally counters that's on Aligned Heart. Now we have Whirlwind of Thought. Anytime we cast a non-creature spell, we get to draw a card. Now we have a really fun one. We have Illusions of Grandeur. I know this does have a cumulative upkeep of 2, but we're going to use this on the Archimandrite to deal exactly 21 commander damage in 1 shot. Because when it enters the battlefield, we get to gain 20 life, and then if Illusions of Grandeur leaves the battlefield, we lose 20 life. But it's not that big of a deal. Okay, let's get into the land base. This is a very streamlined land base. So we have Command Tower, we have Cavern of Souls. When this enters, we get to choose a creature type. We're going to choose Monk, and we're going to add 1 mana of any color, and if we use that mana to cast a creature of the chosen type, that spell cannot be countered. Now we have Ragavan Triumph. If we don't need this, we can cycle it to draw a card. Now we have the Mystic Monastery. Now we have some fetch lands. So we have our Flooded Strand, Arid Mesa, and Scalding Tarn. We also have a basic land fetch with Fable Passage. Now we need the lands to go get, so we have Steam Vents, Sacred Foundry, and Hallowed Fountain as our shock lands. Now we have the Verges, so we have River Pirate Verge, Sun Billow Verge, and Flood Farm Verge. We have our Battle Bond lands, so we have Spectator Seating, Training Center, and Sea of Clouds. Now we got some cycling lands in case we need to draw cards. So we have Forgotten Cave, Lonely Sandbar, and Secluded Step. Now we got a fun one. We have Mystic Sanctuary. This will enter tapped unless we control 3 or more islands. But if we control 3 or more islands, this will enter untapped. And if it did, we can put any instant and sorcery from our graveyard back on top of our library. Now we have a very important one. We have Rogue's Passage. You can pay 4 colorless and target creature is unblockable that turn. This is going to be the primary land that we're going to use when Archimandrite is big enough to one-shot one of your opponents. That way they can't block it. We have 4 islands, 4 mountains, and 4 plains. And that was the Commander deck tech for the Archimandrite Jeskai Prowess build. I really hope you guys enjoyed this Jeskai Prowess build. This deck can go very wide, very fast, and deal ridiculous amounts of damage, gain lots of life, and draw lots of cards, which is pretty much what we want to do overall. But let me know in the comments below if you guys have any suggestions on how to improve this build, or if you just really like the build how it is. I'll leave the link to the Moxfield deck list in the comments below like always. And until next time, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share these videos, and I will see you in the next one.